Blood on their hands. That's the focus of tonight's angle. The left has spawned its own murder cult. Only 2 weeks after Charlie Kirk was assassinated, we're seeing more politically motivated killing. Now, this morning, the ICE facilities in Dallas were targeted by a sniper who shot 3 detainees, killing one, and then he turned the gun on himself. Although no ICE agents were injured, this was reminiscent of another attack a few months ago. It appears deliberate and premeditated.
The FBI is investigating this incident as an act of targeted violence. It is unfortunately just the most recent example we've seen of targeted violence. To include here in North Texas, what I can also share with you is that early evidence that we've seen from rounds that were found near the suspected shooter contain messages that are anti-ICE in nature.
Yeah, you can actually see the literal anti-ICE scrawl on the casings here. Now, this case is still under investigation, but one thing we do know, violence toward our agents is becoming the norm. From the day before the inauguration to today, it's felt like open season on our ICE and Border Patrol agents. The number of attacks is stunning. January 20th, a Border Patrol agent was shot and killed during a traffic stop in Vermont. June 21st, a Molotov cocktail was thrown at a hotel near LAX where multiple agents were staying. July 4th, the ambush in Alvarado that the lieutenant was talking about there in Texas. A group dressed in military-style black clothing set off fireworks, sprayed graffiti, and shot at correctional officers. A police officer who responded was shot in the neck. On August 5th, agents escaped an arson attack in Washington state. I could go on and on. Now, these attacks follow what has been a campaign of vicious left-wing agitation with a familiar playbook. Dehumanize anyone who works for ICE, dox agents in the field, and disrupt ICE operations by any means necessary. We saw that happen in New Jersey, remember. Now, Ted Cruz happened to be in Dallas this morning when this latest attack happened. He's had enough.
Politically motivated violence is wrong. This is the third shooting in Texas directed at ICE or CBP. This must stop. To every politician who is using rhetoric demonizing ICE and demonizing CBP, stop. To every politician demanding that ICE agents be doxxed and calling for people to go after their families, stop.
The vice president, who just spoke so eloquently at Charlie's memorial, provided more details about this morning's attack. And no, it wasn't random.
Person who wrote anti-ICE messaging on their bullets, and there's some evidence that we have that's not yet public, but we know this person was politically motivated. They were politically motivated to go after law enforcement. They were politically motivated to go after people who are enforcing our border. And I think that is the most disgusting thing. It is time to stop the rhetorical assault on law enforcement.
And what rhetoric, exact rhetoric, are we talking about?
It is the largest private domestic army of its type, police force anywhere in the world. He'll have 30,000 people that increasingly appear to be swearing an oath of office to him, not the Constitution. Masked men jumping out of unmarked cars, people disappearing, no due process, no oversight, zero accountability. People ask, well, is authoritarianism, you're being hyperbolic? Bull, we're being hyperbolic. If you're a black and brown community, it's here.
Disgusting, yet from him, totally irresponsible and predictable. Now meet the modern-day pro-criminal, pro-open borders Democrat Party. The Nazi references are their go-to attack lines.
Donald Trump's modern-day Gestapo is scooping folks up off the streets.
We are not used to our government censoring, chilling speech, disappearing people.
This is Gestapo-like behavior, where plainclothes officers wearing masks are terrorizing immigrants.
Now, when's the last time you heard any of those radicals describe actual foreign criminals that way? Now, these elected officials simply don't care that they're putting lives in danger, never have. Just like they didn't care that Biden's open borders in the first place would lead to American suffering, American death. Tonight, they all have blood on their hands, including top Democrat leaders who were implicitly threatening ICE agents just a few months ago.
Every single ICE agent who's engaged in this aggressive overreach and are trying to hide their identities from the American people will be unsuccessful in doing that.
Despicable thing to say to the men and women who put their lives on the line to keep our country safe. To execute the immigration enforcement laws, by the way, that were duly passed by Congress. Now, this entire chapter of the Democrat Party's playbook will end badly for them. Americans overwhelmingly elected Donald Trump in large part for his support for mass deportations. Now, let's be clear. So far, out of the 30+ million people who are here illegally, the number of actual deportations has been pretty modest. It's on pace for 600,000 this year. But remember, Jeffries, Jayapal, Walz, AOC, etc., they're the real fanatics because they want no one deported. Not a gangbanger, not a child abuser, not a drug trafficker, no one. They hate this country and are interested in doing one thing: punishing us. So it's time that we put an end to these wicked, dangerous lies. In November's governor's races in Virginia and in New Jersey and in the midterms next year, voters have the chance to punish the Democrat death cult for the violent climate they've created. And that's the angle.
Fox News alert: ICE under attack again. At the crack of dawn, a sniper fired multiple rounds at an ICE facility in Dallas. Rounds hit an ICE van. 2 illegals were hit. 1 is dead. The sniper is Joshua John. He's 29. Here's a picture from 2015. He opened fire from a nearby building. It was a miracle an ICE agent wasn't killed.
You know, I know so many of those officers and agents down there. That's where I started my career. The windows that they show is my old office. So whoever was sitting in my old chair had to, duck under the desk.
The shooter committed suicide after the attack. The FBI says there was an ideological motive to the rampage. He scrawled messages on his bullets.
Early evidence that we've seen from rounds that were found near the suspected shooter contain messages that are anti-ICE in nature.
The sniper had anti-ICE carved into the shell casings. But the media says no one knows the motive. Maybe the gunman was a comedian.
You can't just assume by that what was written on that shell casing that that's necessarily his motivation. He could have been doing that to thinking it was funny, trying to put law enforcement on the wrong track.
Well, ICE says it was a clear attack on ICE, and the director of the ICE facility doesn't think it's funny.
The rhetoric has to stop. There are people out there who are seeing what is being placed online, and they're coming and they're doing acts of violence against ICE employees. So that's kind of all I have for today, is that it's just got to stop. It's dangerous, and people are losing their lives.
Just a month ago, the same exact ICE facility got bomb threats. And another Texas ICE facility just a few months ago was fired on by Trantifa. They baited agents and launched a sophisticated attack with military precision. We've seen riots outside of ICE buildings in LA, Portland, and Illinois. Just yesterday, Antifa stormed an ICE facility in Oregon with homemade weapons. You see a pattern? MSNBC says ICE are the ones who should tone it down.
We have seen just the rhetoric escalate. We've also seen the very dramatic videos of ICE nabbing individuals and tossing them into unmarked vehicles. A lot of these ICE agents have been masked, and so it has been very divisive. And there's been a lot of fear in the different communities where we've been reporting.
ICE has been divisive? They're doing what the country voted for. They're enforcing immigration laws that Congress wrote. That's called democracy. Attacks on ICE are up over 800%, and our politicians are egging it on.
Donald Trump's modern-day Gestapo is scooping folks up off the streets. They're in unmarked vans, wearing masks, being shipped off to foreign torture dungeons.
Secret police who are masked, who are intimidating, who are scaring people. These Gestapo-like tactics.
It does look like a Gestapo operation. It does look like the Gestapo.
When you keep calling federal agents Nazis, crazies are going to treat them like Nazis and shoot them. Last night, Gavin Newsom gave the crazies the green light.
Masked men jumping out of unmarked cars, people disappearing, no due process, no oversight, zero accountability happening in the United States of America today. People ask, well, is authoritarianism, you're being hyperbolic? Bull, we're being hyperbolic. If some guy jumped out of an unmarked car in a van with a mask on, tried to grab me, I mean, by definition, you're going to push back.
The governor of California is calling on the people to push back against a so-called dictator's secret police. And the next day, a gunman sprays bullets into that police facility. The governor feels no responsibility for the words that come out of his mouth. He's not saying march peacefully and patriotically against ICE.
When they lie about who they're arresting, when they lie about the actual job of law enforcement, what they're doing is encouraging crazy people to go and commit violence. If your political rhetoric encourages violence against our law enforcement, you can go straight to hell and you have no place in the political conversation of the United States of America.
Democrats call ICE the Gestapo, and then they get shot at. And the media says it's ICE's fault since they're divisive. They did the same thing with Charlie Kirk. They said Kirk had it coming. And the governors, who should be working with ICE to get bad hombres out of the communities, are trying to unmask them so they get doxxed and harassed.
It's like a dystopian sci-fi movie. Unmarked cars, people in masks, people quite literally disappearing, no due process, no rights, enough. ICE, unmasked. What are you afraid of? What are you afraid of?
Last week, the governor signed a bill to force ICE agents to expose their faces to cameras and cartels. The man mandated masks to stop the spread of a virus, but wants to remove masks so we can't stop the spread of migrants. Some of these politicians deny ICE attacks are even happening. Johnny was in D.C. this summer. Watch.
Do you condemn the attacks on ICE agents?
What attacks on ICE agents?
But I also condemn ICE being masked, coming up in unmarked vehicles, terrorizing our communities, kidnapping people. I condemn that too.
I
condemn both.
Did you wear a mask in 2020?
Did I wear a mask in 2020 during the pandemic? Yeah.
Isn't that the same thing?
No.
You got to protect yourself.
No, it's not the same thing.
Don't wear masks in our community. You're terrorizing women. Real men don't terrorize women.
Did you wear a mask in 2020?
Look, for health reasons, I'm not a cop, so like whatever cute gotcha you think you have there.
They're protecting themselves.
But look, do you know anyone who gets more threats than me? These ICE agents aren't getting more threats than me.
Jesse Waters probably gets a little more threats.
Well, Jesse Waters, not a real man.
These politicians have around-the-clock security, armed guards, drivers, a bubble around them so that people can't get close. What do these officers have? Nothing. They go home to their families in a residential neighborhood with no gates and an address in the white pages. Politicians with protection are inciting violence against officers with none. You don't think the threats are real? Tom Homan's been forced out of his home.
I have a 24/7 security detail because of threats against me. I don't live with my family because I don't want them around danger as much as I can. So, you know, it's tough, but I'm not going away. I'm not shutting up. I can continue fighting to make this country great again.
Democrats have declared war. Not my words, theirs.
We're in a war right now to save this country, and so you have to be willing to do whatever is necessary in order to save the country.
Think about how they're programming people. They're at war, and they have to win by any means necessary. That ICE is the president's Nazi Gestapo, and if they don't push back, democracy's dead.
I fear that we will not have an election in 2028. I really mean that in the core of my soul, unless we wake up to the code red, what's happening in this country, and we wake up soberly to how serious this moment is.
You know what happened when Jack Nicholson ordered a code red? They beat someone to death.
Did you order the code red?
I did the job. Did you order the code red? You're right, I did.
They shot Steve Scalise. They shot Trump once, then tried to shoot him again. Burnt down the governor's mansion in Pennsylvania, shot up Christian schools and ICE facilities, shot up an ABC affiliate, planted bombs under a Fox truck, and assassinated Charlie Kirk. Even they're admitting they have a problem. The Atlantic says left-wing terrorism is on the rise. That's the Atlantic. 26% of voters say Charlie getting shot on campus was understandable. Whose side do you think they're on? Charlie got killed, and hostile liberals are still harassing conservatives on campus. One guy tried debating HBCU students. He got mobbed. That conservative needed a police escort to leave campus. Kimmel lost his job for 4 days, and they said free speech was under attack. Charlie Kirk was killed for exercising free speech, and they said he had it coming. They say we need more civil debate, and we need to be more civil. So when we try to engage in civilized debate, they chase us off campus. Now the freedom of the press is under attack. But when it's conservative press, the media is silent. Here's a reporter getting swarmed outside the UN. Watch.
Like that. Charlie Kirk.
Why would I say that? Why would I say that?
He's racist.
No, he's not.
Yes, he is.
No, he's not. Well, look at you. Look at you. Look at you.
He's not black woman.
Hey, stop it. Stop it. Get off. Get off.
That looks civil. Hillary says the rhetoric has to stop, and we agree, but she says not from her, from you.
We have got to stop demonizing each other.
Exactly.
Yeah. Now, I think most of that right now in our country's history is coming, from the right. We have got to stop with the finger pointing and the scapegoating.
Hillary called half the country deplorables and irredeemable, despicable Neanderthals who needed to be deprogrammed and have their First and Second Amendments stripped. What has the right said about Hillary that Bill hasn't already said? And it's not like men in MAGA hats are shooting up Planned Parenthoods and Hollywood celebrities or journalists or politicians. No one on the right is acting on the language we're using. On the left, they are. And it's starting to feel like that's the Democrats' strategy. Intimidate us into shutting our mouths. They're using bullets to bully us into political submission. It kind of feels like they know what they're doing.
Political violence has gotten out of control in this country. We got to stop it. We got to condemn it. And that starts, unfortunately, at the very top of the Democratic Party. If you want to stop political violence, stop attacking our law enforcement as the Gestapo. If you want to stop political violence, stop telling your supporters that everybody who disagrees with you is a Nazi. If you want to stop political violence, look in the mirror.
And if they're not going to look in the mirror and stop triggering their crazies to shoot us, stab us, and blow up our cars, then we're going to have to crack down. We can't sit back and not defend ourselves. It's open season on us. And if we're not going to save ourselves, who else are we going to save?
And welcome to Hannity. And breaking tonight, former FBI Director James Comey facing potential perjury charges over allegations that he lied to Congress. Now, Fox News is told that a grand jury is meeting to consider an indictment. Now, there are also tonight multiple reports that New York Attorney General, Miss Get Trump, that would be Attorney General Tish James, well, she may be in trouble for mortgage fraud. We will have all the details coming up tonight straight ahead. Also tonight, part-time governor, full-time Tweety Bird, full-time podcaster, Gavin Newsom, my friend. Just can't get my name out of his mouth. Keep it out of his mouth anyway. I got a friendly message for him coming up in my response. I know Tweety Bird is watching. Stay tuned for that. But first tonight, an urgent warning for America. This is serious. The dehumanizing, demonizing, overblown, hyperbolic, never-ending, obsessive-compulsive, 24/7 deranged condemnation of President Trump, his administration, ICE, and law enforcement agents conservatives in general, needs to stop. Needs to stop now. Look at where we are at this moment as a country. Well, apparently it's not there. All right, 2 weeks, but we'll show you something in a minute. Now, 2 weeks removed from the assassination of Charlie Kirk, America woke up to yet another act of targeted political violence. A 29-year-old man opened fire at an ICE facility in Dallas this morning in what the Department of Homeland Security is now calling an attack on ICE law enforcement. The FBI director, Kash Patel, shared images on social media of literally unspent ammunition with the words anti-ICE written on it. And as of now, this seems very deliberate. Luckily, no ICE agents were killed or injured in the attack. Sadly, one ICE detainee was killed. 2 others were seriously wounded. And remember, this all comes amid a massive spike in threats against ICE agents. Pay close attention.
You know, I've never seen anything like this in my law enforcement career. I've never seen threats on law enforcement, specifically ICE, increase the way it is. You know, we're up over 1,000% assaults on officers right now. And really just a lot of the talk that's out there, a lot of the rhetoric is just the violence directed towards law enforcement officers just trying to do their job. And we just keeping seeing an increase step by step.
This is old, painful. It is sad. It is tragic. It's also preventable. We are now officially trapped in a sick, twisted, evil assassination culture. But how do we get here? Now, first, to be clear, unlike the left, they would openly blame conservatives if some lunatic, were to shoot a conservative. They tried to say, blame Bernie Sanders. I said, no, I don't blame Bernie Sanders for what happened on that ball field way back in the day. On this show, we will be specific. You can never blame anyone but the person that actually pulls the trigger for any act of political violence or any other type of violence. Now, but we can no longer deny that the insane, never-ending, dehumanizing rhetoric from the left is so out of control, as President Trump himself wrote on Truth Social earlier today. Radical left Democrats, they are now constantly demonizing law enforcement, calling for ICE to be demolished, comparing ICE officers to Nazis. You can add calling them Gestapo and brown shirts, and we'll show you that in a minute, and worse. Now, Trump, in the same message, called on Democrats to stop this unhinged rhetoric against ICE and law enforcement right away. And he's right. It needs to stop. This is what we hear. Racist, fascist, Nazi, Hitler, Stalin, Mussolini. Never stops. It's every day. It needs to stop. This is what it sounds like.
Donald Trump's modern-day Gestapo is scooping folks up off the streets.
As somebody who understands history, when I see ICE, I see slave patrols.
The dangers that we saw in Nazi Germany are the dangers that we need to react to now.
And these ICE agents running around our communities like masked bank robbers, terrorizing women.
Masked ICE agents, no badge, no identification, grabbing people off the streets.
Masked secret ICE agents are snatching and arresting immigrants.
Women who are selling fruit on a corner are people who are trying to survive day to day as day laborers. Are car washes. People are beginning to complain now because car washes aren't open. Why would you prey on a car wash? Unless you're preying on that car wash because you know those are very vulnerable workers.
And another $30 billion to hire and train ICE agents who have functionally become a secret federal police force with expanding domains.
Are coming and kidnapping and disappearing people on the streets of the United States.
We have ICE federal agents pulling up, terrorizing our communities, hopping out of unmarked vans, stealing and, yes, kidnapping people.
An authoritarian government in Washington, D.C. is dispatching masked agents to abduct immigrants from our streets. That is not justice. It is cruelty, and it is criminal.
$175 billion in the bill that was just signed to reinforce the ranks of ICE, Homeland Security, for what is increasingly becoming self-evident to anyone with eyes wide open and any level of objectivity, a private army for Donald Trump.
Private Army? We'll respond to Gavin in a minute. Now, Secretary Noem, she has to now live in military housing for her safety. Our border czar, Tom Homan, he has a full-time security detail because of the rhetoric of radical Democrats around the country. He says he doesn't live with his family because he doesn't want them to face the same threats that he is facing. He took a public service job. He is enforcing the law. ICE agents are enforcing the law. And now, in the case of Tom Homan, it's costing him access to his own family. It's not a joke. Shots have been fired. People have been killed. It's not the 1930s. We don't live in Nazi Germany. This is not fascism. This is not Stalin. This is not an authoritarian country with a dictator in charge. This is the United States of America. Our country can be and should be and hopefully will be better than this. Our elected officials should be better. The legacy media mob is just as bad, and they have been complicit, and they use the same rhetoric, the same language. These talking heads on the left, radical Democrats, get a grip on reality. You know, the daily refrain, as I said, racist, Nazi, fascist, Hitler, Stalin, Mussolini, wash, rinse, repeat. You know, you do it every day, it's having an effect. Cumulatively, if you look at what's happening here, is when deranged people hear this day in and day out, hour in, hour out, every second, every minute, every hour of every day, that this garbage in and out, and Republicans are horrible people, and you can't trust the police, you can't trust ICE, you can't trust conservatives, they're all Nazis, fascists, Gestapo, brown shirts. People who are not well to begin with, they are hearing every word you are saying. It is having a dehumanizing impact and effect. And is it really that far-fetched to ask if people on the edge already, at this point, actually might start to believe that they're doing good by getting rid of Nazis with acts of violence, and maybe even believing, oh, I'm helping God's will on earth, because they have been indoctrinated to believe the people they target are actual Nazis because they hear it every day, a refrain that they're hearing from supposedly respected public figures.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Stop it. It's good to see you, and I promise I won't be crying. Happy Wednesday, everyone. So last night, Jimmy Kimmel returned to his show and gave a self-pitying, tearful non-apology. But I got to say, it's nice to see someone crying at Kimmel's show besides the audience. Kimmel failed to correct his lie that Charlie Kirk's assassin was a MAGA supporter, but he cited Jesus as inspiration for forgiveness. True, Jesus forgave his executioners, but Jesus also cast demons into a herd of pigs, which, as you know, for Jimmy, is still possible. So should we forgive him for the first time he lied or the second? Jesus performed a lot of miracles, but I don't think he'll be bringing Kimmel's show back from the dead. Kimmel portrayed himself as a victim, so maybe next time he does blackface, instead of Karl Malone, he should just go as Jussie Smollett. All right. In other news, failed Trump assassin Ryan Ruth tried to stab himself with a pen after being sentenced in court. That's 2 times he tried to kill someone and failed. Wow, it's like he didn't listen to a word I said, said one woman. Kamala Harris told Rachel Maddow that her race against Trump ended up being the closest presidential election in the 21st century. When asked about proof, she said, "I prefer Smirnoff 100. Kamala also told The View she thought the differences between her and former President Joe Biden were obvious. True, he doesn't have to blow something to start his car or get a job. That's terrible that you would laugh at that. All right, so the left loves to hit us with their new buzzword, censorship. But like with every issue, it's always projection. It's like when they call you Hitler, but they're the ones with the little mustaches. So Google now admits that Biden officials pressed YouTube to censor COVID content during the pandemic, meaning so-called misinformation was scrubbed faster than Doug Emhoff's junk after the nanny left. And now Google's reinstating these accounts. At least those tech nerds finally came around. But if they really cared so much about medical science, they should have investigated why Joe Biden hasn't cast a shadow since 2005. But there's more than that. Remember when the Biden White House jailed someone for a meme? Douglas Mackey was jailed for a joke about false voting instructions, while liberals who made the same joke are freer than Larry Kudlow jogging at a nude beach. So that's the left's commitment to free speech. They only care if a millionaire leftist is suspended for a few days. But destroying your life to shut you up, that's cool, because you aren't Jimmy Kimmel. So it's no wonder that liberal policies are as popular as cold sores at a CPR training class. The Dems are underwater across the board. What are we seeing, Harry?
What are we seeing? You know, Donald Trump being underwater, Democrats saying, oh, this guarantees us we're going to fly high in the midterms. Let me tell you, this guarantees you nothing, because at this particular point, the Democrats are the New Orleans Saints of political parties. What are we talking about? Trust the Dems or GOP more on the economy? Who leads on the economy? Republicans by 7. Immigration, Republicans by 13. How about crime, a big issue for Donald Trump and the Republicans? Look at that, lead by 22 points.
That's a lot. But are you surprised? The Dems only care about crime when the victim is trans and the atrocity is no urinals in the ladies' room. But I wonder, does he have a bottom line?
So the bottom line is this. At this particular point, the ball may be on the ground, but the Democrats have not picked up the ball and running with it. If anything, at this particular point, it's the Republicans who are running with the ball on the top issues, the economy, immigration, and crime.
Well, it can't get worse than that. Unless we compare it back to 2022, Harry?
Yeah, let's compare it back to 2022. I think this kind of gives away the game right here. Okay, the GOP is more trusted than the Dems on the economy. It was 12 points in 2022. Slight decline in that lead, but still 7 points. How about immigration? It was Republicans by 3 back in 2022. Look at this. The Republican lead's actually gone up by 10 points. What are you doing, Democrats? My goodness gracious. And on crime, the Republicans were up by 13, and now they're up by 22, the lead again expanding by nearly double digits. So whatever Democrats are doing, it ain't working, Kate. It ain't working.
I wish I had him as a teacher in grade school. Now, you'd think these numbers would be cause for reflection. You know, hey, maybe our ideas are the problem. You know, maybe men in bikinis or letting murderers out of jail and allowing boatloads of drugs in isn't exactly speaking to our voters. No. These ghastly numbers only drive them deeper into their rabid, one-size-fits-all solution, demonization. Branding Trump a fascist is the easy fix for a party that has no answers. Because while Trump spent his time on the issues, immigration, crime, the economy, they never worked out those muscles. And the result was political atrophy. The Dems never picked up the weights. They just sat around gorging on hate. Already 2 million illegals have been deported since Trump took office, 1.6 million self-deported. Just the thought of Trump sent them running like bystanders when Jerry Nadler's robe falls open. Meanwhile, they took a look at Biden and they saw an urn propping open the back door of America. Then there's crime. It took Trump 1 week to turn D.C. around. But as the Dems would tell us, stopping carjackings is the first sign of fascism. After all, how else are those poor carjackers supposed to get to the Antifa rally? But as usual, the media keeps the getaway car running, providing cover and an easy exit for hateful rhetoric. But look, it's easy for the right to be popular when you're competing against horrible ideas. And it also helps to come out completely against assassinating people. But I guess the Democrats will have to wait for a poll first to tell them that. Let me grease one up for you. Because when a conservative leader is murdered in cold blood, it didn't stop them from fanning the flames like Randy Weingarten with itching powder in her jockstrap. But they were never like Charlie. Debate was never the answer. So now all the words they have left are the same ones they used against us to begin with. Fascist, Nazi, racist. They didn't learn from Trump's near assassination, and they can't learn from Charlie's actual assassination. Because if they see the evil in their words, what does that mean? Then they have to let them go, and they can't. Because really, what's left? Let's welcome tonight's guest. He made history as the first person in the cabinet who was out of the closet. Presidential envoy and president of the Kennedy Center, Richard Grenell. He keeps up with the headlines by sleeping on newspapers. Host of the Loftus Party podcast, Michael Loftus. She's like a diet soda, bubbly, but her sweetness is fake. New York Times bestselling author and Fox News contributor, Kat Tiff. He rarely smiles because flocks of geese get stuck in his teeth. New York Times bestselling author, comedian, and former NWA World Champion. Rick, first, the most important question. When are we going to be formally invited to the Kennedy Center to do a show?
Oh, my gosh, Greg. I honestly was thinking about that. We talked about in the pre-show, I'd love for you to come anytime. Let's do live. Let's do a whole week.
I
Let's do a whole week.
almost thought about it.
No, he really did because he asked me to.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, you asked him, but not me.
I think we should do the whole week.
Oh, I like that.
Like a whole week in Washington at the Kennedy Center. We'll do like all sorts of shows coming out. We can, have people dancing, singing right here on the show. This is so much different than Red Eye.
Yeah, it is different than Red Eye.
Yeah, there are a lot of people watching this.
That was unnecessary.
Well, if my sweetness is so fake, then I'm just real strong.
So, Rick, are you surprised by the reaction to this? Like the Google story breaks and nobody talks about it? That's kind of big.
Yeah, but I think that we're all at that point where we really know that the Biden administration came after us. They debanked us. They tried to remove us from Twitter, from all social media. Nobody's surprised anymore.
Yeah.
I mean, I think the big surprise is, why aren't they getting prosecuted for this?
Yes, exactly.
That's the big surprise.
What do you make about Harry Anton's, I don't know, it looks grim for the Democrats, but it always does, and they end up pulling something.
And it's more than a year away, so I'm definitely nervous about that. I think Republicans so much of the time take things for granted. We like the change, and then we go back to making money and go back to our lives. They go back to institutions like academia and NGOs and organize, and we're trying to do our lives. And so I think it's going to be really important that we energize people. Now, I do think with Charlie Kirk, people are energized, and people are going to be focused on what they've done in such a terrible, tragic way. I think they took out a future president. I think Charlie would have been future president. Just when you look at what he's done across the country, you think of universities transformed in so many ways. That would have come back whenever he ran to benefit as people grew up with him.
Yeah, it's a shame. Loftus. So Google is a search engine. It's kind of like the stick you use when you poke through garbage.
Yeah. Google, show me a raccoon.
Yes.
Google, what does a possum sound like? It's exciting.
So what do you make of the media's double standard when they freak out about censorship with Kimmel, but then
it's so infuriating, this Google thing, and I'm tired of this dance that they do. Like every couple of years, they'll trot Zuckerberg out in front of everybody. He's like, dude, I don't know. The algorithm had us censoring right-wingers. We feel bad. And then now it's YouTube. And there's a lot of content creators who have wonderful YouTube channels, like the Loftus Party, and that we've been struggling around. You can't tell somebody, oh, here's how big you should have been. And you have to, do business with these social media platforms, and they're constantly censoring you. It's like going to a prostitute, and then you wake up with every possible venereal disease, and now Google's like, we just gave you chlamydia. No! I've got Instagram herpes, I got Facebook warts, I got them all. I need the penicillin of government to come in and make this right. Maybe that was a bad analogy.
It's been going around this week.
Yeah. I definitely would not use that analogy on outnumbered. Cats.
I would love to see that.
So they have. Do you want to talk about Enton's like effusive? Does that warm your heart? Or
Well, the Google thing, I want to go back to, like you said, people aren't talking about it. And for me, I will say when I saw this whole story, my first thought was, like, didn't we already have this conversation? Haven't we already been having this conversation forever? But I was thinking about Facebook and Instagram and Twitter. There was actually so much censorship by the Biden administration of the internet that I literally actually lost track.
Yeah.
I actually thought we already had this conversation because it happened so many times. And then meanwhile, yes, you have Jen Psaki on the air saying, like, talking about the Trump and the censorship and Kimmel. I really don't know how she does it.
Yeah.
I don't know how like, does she not think of it? Does she hope nobody will remember? Because it's not even about remembering it. It's like there's still new stuff coming out, and there's probably even more. I mean, how does she do that?
it's kind of, you know what it is? It's almost like, it's kind of like what you said, which is like Republicans do something and then they go back to work or they go back to their lives. Democrats don't go back to anything but being Democrats. It's just nonstop, and it's just like, you know, if they just keep pushing it and pushing it, it's like rust never sleeps. It's like the corruption of the Democrats. It doesn't end. Tyrus, what say you?
Well, they're still on the mission.
Yeah.
It's one of the worst missions ever attempted. Like, they're like, we've got to stop President Trump from being president. He did it thrice.
Yeah.
So, and they refuse to, that is it. It doesn't matter anything else. That's why you never hear another policy come out from them. Like, we don't like your border thing because we think you should use chain link fences instead of bricks on the wall. Okay, let's hear that argument. Is it cheaper? No. We don't like anything you do that the orange guy does. Doesn't matter what it is. He came out and he said that, you know, they came out and they said there might be some issues between taking Tylenol and it could possibly be causing autism with pregnant women. And what do they do? Because President Trump said it, and not all the research has gone back behind it. Even at one point, Tylenol even posted on social media, like, hey, maybe don't take this if you're pregnant.
Yes.
Right? You shouldn't take anything if you're pregnant if you can avoid it, right?
Right,
Dr.
that's
Drew
the whole
said that.
point, yeah.
He kind of put it out. What do? They made TikTok videos of them popping Tylenol pills when they're pregnant.
Yeah.
It's one mindset of we have to stop Trump. And even though they're still like, Gavin Newsom is running against Trump in 2028. I don't know how to tell you this, but he's not running in 2028, you moron.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.